bit crusher, a little bit of soothe, and then sidechain compression. So all of a sudden,
did you know that S.G. Lewis sampled Force MD's Tender Love for his track Something About Your Love? If you're interested in sampling, then you should check out Tracklib, the online record store for sampling. Stick around to get your first 15 tracks for free.
I had the vocal hook and a rough idea of what the track would sound like kind of a couple of years ago, but I just hadn't figured out how to do the Daft Punk thing really, or do my own version of it. So I'll play you the first, or actually it says V2, I lost V1. So this is what it sounded like kind of 4 years ago or something, 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, like musically you can hear what it's trying to do, but like it just stylistically isn't in the right pocket. But the thing that kind of stuck with me was the vocal hook. It's like really simple, but it was, I mean, for anyone that writes music, you'll know that like you have these kind of ideas in your head and there's some that just stick for years and you just like can't get that one thing out of your head. So years later, I was just listening to a bunch of music and I was just digging through old tunes. And I was digging for samples because I wanted to try sampling as like an approach, because I usually don't sample. I play instruments and kind of build from scratch. So it was almost like a fun exercise to take the sampling approach. And I found this song by Force MD's Tender Love. So I heard these chords and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because it then goes into this kind of slow dance. Apparently this was like a big school disco, like slow dance, and especially in America.
Wow.
And I've played it to people. I mean, unbelievable. But those opening chords were kind of the thing that stuck with me. So I took a sampler, and so this is called Serato Sampler. It's a really good free piece of sampling software. You can basically throw a track in there, and there's a function called Find Samples, and it will basically cut a tune up for you, and you can basically just immediately be presented with a bunch of usable samples. So anyway, it allows you to basically play a song as if it was like an instrument. So very quickly, once I'd messed around with this software a bit, I realized that you can kind of throw songs in and just kind of tap around on a keyboard, and sometimes you'll find something really great. So I basically chopped up the opening chord sequence here. So because I wanted it to sound like early 2000s French touch records, so samplers back then were like a lot more clunky. They weren't quite as like smooth and digital as they are now. You know, they were these kind of hardware old school samplers. So basically I wanted it to sound more like a old sampler. So I left all these gaps in the sampling. If you look at the MIDI, there's like these kind of spaces. So when you're listening to it, it sounds like someone's playing like an old sampler as opposed to like a perfect legato digital one. It kind of makes it sound a little bit shitter and a bit more, because a lot of the process, so those old samplers, the audio quality would be degraded through the dithering of the audio in the sample, in the sampler, or there's a natural built-in like bit crushing element to a lot of those samplers. Just distortion elements that are introduced by feeding audio into a new piece of kit. The next couple of steps were basically just degrading the quality of this audio. So taking a bunch of information out using EQ, over compressing it using OTT. I love this plugin. It's basically just over the top compressor, as the name suggests. If I take all these off, you'll hear what it sounds like.
As promised, I'm here to tell you more about Tracklib. 80,000 previously released records, real tracks by known artists from the 60s to the present day, all available for you to sample fast and affordably. In many cases, you even get access to the original multi-tracks, so you can grab that 80s soul a cappella that you've been after. As High Contrast said in our recent chat, it is a producer's dream. Fellow Tracklib users include Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, K. Trinada, Lil Wayne and DJ Khaled, among thousands of others. Head on over to tracklib.com/tape notes to get your first 15 tracks free.
So this is the sample chop without all the processing. So add the EQ, add some chorus, OTT, RC20, which is like a really good, it's good for fucking up audio and just kind of, it does emulation of like vinyl or tape and stuff. It's just got a bunch of tools to basically degrade the quality of the audio again. Bit crusher, a little bit of soothe, and then sidechain compression. So all of a sudden, it's kind of now like feeling a lot more like a French touch, like house record, as opposed to the kind of slow dance that we had going before. So then add the drums. I was kind of reading about the sampling, and then it was a case of trying to like reverse engineer the way that sampling would sound back then in 2022, and kind of trying to like essentially replicate the shortcomings of those old samplers, which is funny because the irony of it is like we have all this like amazing equipment now and we spend all our time trying to make it sound shit again. But it's those limitations that kind of like then breed innovation in those genres. You know, it's almost like I always say that people kind of starting to produce music and stuff, it's better to limit yourself to like one synth to begin with, like even if it's like a Logic ES1 like plugin or something, and to know that plugin inside out, back to front. Like the first Disclosure record was done on like stock Logic plugins. Like there's limitations, but Guy and Howard were able to, you know, make those plugins do absolutely everything they needed to do. So yeah, it's sometimes too many tools at your disposal kind of cause you to you just have too much choice almost. So yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please support the show by subscribing and hitting that bell. You can find links to all the gear in the description below.